All right, everybody, what's going on? We got some bad news this morning. Some bad Seattle Seahawks breaking news just came out about a half hour ago. Yeah, despite some initial optimism around this one, and despite reason to believe that things were going to be relatively chill here, it turns out that things are not chill as it regards to one Zach Charbonnet. The Seahawks backup running back, although calling him a backup, I think kind of misses the point a little bit because he was basically in an equal timeshare with Ken Walker in the backfield. He got hurt on Saturday night against the 49ers, and initially it looked like it was going to be relatively minor. Mike McDonald indicated that it wasn't anything all that significant. As it turns out, it is very significant. Zach Charbonnet's season is over, and he will require some surgery. So, really rough news here. All right, everybody, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about a wonderful app called Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get all kinds of scores, sports news, and sports alerts with blazing fast speed. And of course, you can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports with other people in a community. Download the Sleeper app today and remember to use the promo code SBN, that is SBN, for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And they also have a free $20 entry right now, no deposit required. So pair those two up. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. Check out the Sleeper app and have fun with sports this year. So yeah, McDonald was on Seattle sports radio earlier, and despite what he said Saturday night after the injury was initially suffered, and despite the fact that Zach Charbonnet actually was able to watch most of the second half from the sideline, and even though he was on the stationary bike for part of it, yeah, it's a significant knee injury. He's going to need surgery. He's got a good long road to come back, and Adam Schefter said a little bit later that it is official that Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL. So that is a big one. That doesn't just affect him for the rest of this season, obviously, because we only have a few weeks left at most. It could affect him next season. And next season was the year where he was potentially in line to become the full-time starter. So that is a really, really tough one. And I feel bad for him too, of course, because this was his first postseason and now it's cut short. So rough. So there's obviously some long-term ramifications here, but short-term, Charbonnet actually obviously had a pretty big role on this offense, and it's not going to be easy to fill that role. This Seahawks offense wanted to be a run-heavy team, and in order for this team to be run-heavy, they needed multiple running backs to be effective for them. And K9 and Charbonnet was a great combo. K9 and Charbonnet provided a lot of great stuff that you're not necessarily going to be able to get out of whoever replaces Charbonnet for the next game or two, depending on whether or not we win. Now, who that guy could be, the guy that replaces Charbonnet, obviously, I think that K9, you end up asking a little bit more of him, which is fine because K9 had been playing better in recent games, and K9 had been, I think, clearly the better running back with the ball in his hands this year anyway. He had had a great year with the ball in his hands in 2025. The issue is the concern with that would just be, I would say, pass protection. As much as Charbonnet was having a not very good year protecting the quarterback on blitz pickups, he was still better than Walker. And there's also the element of just you need some kind of a rotation there because most running backs cannot play every snap. K9 is certainly not one of those backs that can play every snap. We kind of got lucky against the Niners that we beat them down so badly that it didn't really matter that we only had one running back for a chunk of that game. So against a team like the Rams, against a team like whoever we might play in the Super Bowl, it's going to be a little bit different. So this is something that is going to be a problem. Seahawks Nerd lists out some of the immediate options for the Seahawks. You've got Velez Jones, who was obviously active against the Niners, but we didn't really see him until garbage time. So there's obviously not a ton of faith there. And I don't know if we feel like we can give him carries in the when the game is actually close. You got Cam Akers on the practice squad, who is another guy that was active for a couple games at the end of the year, but clearly we didn't really like what we saw there. We clearly didn't think very much of him because he never really got the ball or got on the field in crucial moments. And then you've got George Holani, who is on injured reserve, but we were told he was making progress. Sorry about that, guys. Phone rang. Had to get that. But yeah, George Holani would obviously be the most preferable option of these three because he is the guy that was initially the third running back and is clearly the guy that of the three we like the most. Remember, Holani actually got some action in games where Walker and Charbonnet were healthy. So we clearly, I would say, like him more than we like Jones or Akers, but nothing's ideal. None of these guys provide the power and the interior emphasis of a Charbonnet. None of these guys can do the things that Charbonnet provides, and it's rough, man. It's a really bad time for this to happen. This team wants to be a team that runs the ball. It's going to be harder to do that when you only have one running back that you really have a lot of faith in, and somebody else is going to have to step up and give us something. Again, the good news is that Walker, with the ball in his hands, was clearly the better of the two running backs, and if he ends up getting more carries because of this, it's not the end of the world at all. Now, as for next year, remember Walker is a free agent imminently. So maybe this motivates us to keep him around for 2026 and beyond. Maybe. I don't know. There are a lot of good running backs that are free agents this offseason. So I wouldn't say there's anything that is guaranteed, but I do think that it's more likely we keep Walker now because a torn ACL will probably affect Charbonnet into 2026. So yeah, just rough. Haven't heard anything about Charles Cross yet, by the way, so we'll see what's going on there. But unfortunately, yeah, Zach Charbonnet out for the rest of the playoffs and probably going to be negatively affected in 2026 as well. The 2026 season, I mean. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. And tough news, but the beat rolls on.